Today I was feeling a little bit lonely because of all this shenanigans, and I thought that this might make me feel better. So I'm going to read chapter 2 because chapter 1's already up. And let's get this started. Sorry if there's a lot of shifting noises or a lot of kind of quiet cuts because I have to move to stay in the light. Chapter 2, The Closet Between Worlds, in which September passes between worlds and asks 4 questions and receives 12 answers, and is inspected by a customs officer. This is going to be an interesting one. It's a fake laugh. By the time a lady reaches the grand golden evening of her life, she has accumulated a great number of things. You know this when you visit your grandmother on the lake that summer. You know this. When you visited your grandmother on the lake that summer, you were surprised to see how many portraits of people you didn't recognize hung on the walls, and how many porcelain ducks and copper pans and books and collectible spoons and old mirrors and scrapwood and half-finished knitting and board games and fireplace pokers she had stuffed away in the corners of her house. You couldn't think what a person would use all that junk for, and why they would keep it around for all this time, slowly fading in the sun, turning the same color of a parchmenty brown. You thought your grandmother was a bit crazy to have such a collection of glass owls and china sugar bowls. That is what the space between fairyland and our world is like. A grandmother's big, dark closet. Her shed out back, her basement, the cluttered stuff and nonsense of millennia. The world didn't really know where else to put it, you see. The earth is frugal. She doesn't want to toss out perfectly good bronze helmets or spinning wheels or water clocks. She might need them one day. As for all the portraiture, when you've lived as long as she has, you'll need help remembering your grandchildren too. September marveled at the heaps of oddities in the closet between worlds. The ceiling was very low, with roots coming through, and everything had a genteel fade to it. The old lace and code-breaking machines, the anchors and heavy picture frames, the dinosaur bones, and the oratories, which I don't know what that is. I hope one of you do. The joke made me lose my place. Oh, Lord. Ooh, there it is. As the leopard proceeded through the dimly lit passageway, September looked through the painted eyes of pharaohs, blind poets, chemists, and serene philosophers. You know what I mean. September could tell they were philosophers because they had drapey clothing, like curtains. But most of the portraits were just people, wearing whatever they liked to wear when they were living, raking hay, writing diaries, or baking bread. Sir Wind, September said. When she had recovered herself, her eyes had to adjust to the darkness. I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer me seriously and not call me any pretty names or tease me. Of course, my September. You can call me Green. I feel like we're becoming very well acquainted. Why'd you take me out of Omaha? Why do you have so many... do you take very many girls? Are they all from Nebraska? And why are you being nice to me? September could not be sure, but she thought the leopard of Little Breezes laughed. It might have been a snort. Well, that's a rather lot more than one question. Therefore, I think it's fair to give you more than one set of answers. He cleared his throat dramatically. 1. Omaha is no place for anybody. 2. No, my schedule keeps me busy enough. 3. See the above. 4. So that you will like me and not be afraid. Up ahead there was a line of folk long and colorful clothes, moving slowly, checking watches, smoothing hair under hats. The leopard slowed. I said no teasing, said September. 1, I was lonely. 2, I have known a spirit of a child or two. I have known to spirit a child or two away. I shan't lie. It is the nature of the winds to snatch and grasp at things and blow them away. 3, Nebraska doesn't grow very many kinds of the kinds of girls that ought to go to fairyland. 4, if I were not nice, I did not know if I were not nice and did not know the way to fairyland, and did not have a rather spectacular cat, you would not smile at me or say amusing things. You would tell me politely that you like your teacups and small dogs, and please be on my way. They came up short and took their place in the line. Everyone towered above September. The line might have been long or short, she could not tell. September leapt off the leopard onto the dry, compact dirt of the closet between worlds. Greenwind hopped lightly down beside her. You said I was ill-tempered. Was that really why? 1, there was a department of fairyland entirely devoted to spiriting off young boys and girls, mostly orphans, but we have become more liberal in this late age, so we may have a ready supply of a certain kind of story when the winter comes, and there is nothing to do but drink fennel beer and peer at the hearth. 2, see the above. 3, dry brown places are prime real estate for children who want to escape them. It's harder to find wastelands in New York City to fly on a leopard. Watersols? What? It wasn't wastelands. I'm just trying to translate what that word is. This book is meant for 13-year-olds. But she's never talked down, ever, and I appreciate her death. I'm going to continue now. After all, they have the Metropolitan Museum to occupy them. 4, I'm not being very nice at all. See how I lie to you and make you do things my way? That's so that you will be ready to live in fairyland, where all sorts of things are considered the height of manners. September curled her fist. She tried very hard not to cry. Green, stop it. I just want to know, 1, because you were born in... If I'm special, finished September halfway between a whisper and a squeak. In stories, when someone appears in a poof of green clouds and asks a girl to go on an adventure, it's because she's spectacular, because she's smart and strong, can solve riddles and fight with swords and give really good speeches, and I don't know how to do any of those things. I don't even know if I'm ill-tempered at all. I'm not dull or anything. I know geography and chess, and I fix boilers with my mother at work, but I mean, what I mean to say is, maybe you could go find another girl? Maybe you could go to another girl's house and let her ride on the leopard? Maybe you didn't mean to choose me at all, because I'm not like a storybook girl. I'm not like storybook girls. I'm short, and my father ran away to the army, and I wouldn't even be able to keep a dog from eating a bird. The leopard turned his ponduous, I know that word, porduous, spotted head and looked at September with large, solemn yellow eyes. We came for you, she growled. Just for you. The cat licked the child's cheek roughly. September smiled just a little. She sniffled and wiped her eyes with the sleeve of her jacket. Next! Boomed a deep, severe voice that echoed all throughout the closet. It was so strong that they were blown back into the folk who had silently joined in line behind them. The party in front of them, all pink eyeshadowed and sprangly spiked hair, exploded past the tall podium in a flutter of papers and luggage. At the top of the podium loomed an enormous gargoyle, its face a mass of bronze and black rock, wagging stone eyebrows and a stern metal jaw. Its lolling eyes burned red flames. Its heavy arms clicked and whirred, greasy pistons pumping. The creature's chest was plated and gnarled, knuckled silver, half open along a thick seam, showing a thudding, white, violent heart within. White violet, heart within, not violent. Those are different things. Papers! Said the gargoyle thundered. Portraits rattled along the earthen walls. Its breath was smoky and hot in its mechanical jaw. A steel tongue rattled. September shrank against the leopard, the force of the gargoyle's breath pushing at her face. Bestie Basilstock, you come out of Betsy Basilstock, you come out of there this second. The green wind hollered back, though not quite so loud, having no leather bellow lungs to help him along. The iron gargoyle paused. No, it bellowed. You're not impressing anyone, you know, sighed the green wind. She's impressed. Look, she's shaking and things. She's all shaking and things, replied the gargoyle. Betsy, I will thrash you a good one, and you know I can. Do not forget who ripped the Lord of Leafglen and rode him like a dog. I am not a tourist. I will not be treated like one. Greenwind. No, you're not a tourist, growled the thick, phlegmy but quieter voice. A little woman, no bigger than September, and perhaps a bit smaller, hopped out of the gargoyle and up onto the podium. The gargoyle's eye flames snuffed out, and great shoulders sagged. The little woman's muscled chest was shaped like a bear's, her legs thick and knobby, her hair slugged up and spiked on her scalp. Sticking up in knife points, she chewed on a hand-rolled cigarette. The smoke smelled sweet like vanilla and rum and maple syrup and other things not terribly good for you. You're not a tourist, she repeated in the grumbly, gravelly voice. You're greenlist, which means a no-good scoundrel, which means no entry allowed. Orders of the Marquise. Betsy, I filed my immigration request with stamps and 4 clandestine weeks and weeks ago. We're gonna say that's what that word was. I have a letter of reference from the Saline Parliament, well, the clerk, but it's on an official letterhead and everything. I think we know that the stationery makes a statement, the Greenman said defensively. Betsy quirked a hairy eyebrow at him and hopped into the gargoyle puppet. Quick as a blink, roared to life with fiery eyes and all. Go away and see who gets thrashed. Green, whispered September. Is she a gnome? Too right am I, grumbled Betsy, squeezing out of the puppet again. It slumped in her absence. Very perceptive of you. That is, what gave it away? September's heart still hammered all over the place from the yellowing of the gargoyle. Yelling. That's the word I was looking for. She held a trembling hand just above her head. Pointy, she squeaked, clearing her throat. Gnomes have pointy hats? I thought pointy hair is as good as a hat, maybe? Well, she's a regular logistician, Greenie. My grandmother wears a pointy hat, girl. My great-grandmother. I wouldn't be caught dead in that any more than you'd be caught in a frilly bonnet. Gnomes are modern now. We're better than modern. Even, look at you. Betsy flexed an extremely respectable biceps, the size of an oil can. Woo! None of this flitting around gardens and blessing thresholds for me. I went to trade school, I did. Now, I'm a customs agent with my own great hulking hunk of heave here. What have you got? A leopard? Answered September quickly. True, considered Betsy. But you haven't got the papers and or both shoes. Not trouble. Why do you need that thing? September asked. None of the airports back home have them. They do. You just can't see them, right? Betsy Basilstock said with a grin. All customs agents have them. Otherwise, people wouldn't agree to stand in line and be peered at and inspected. We all live inside of a terrible machine of authority. It grinds and shrieks and burns so that no one will say, the lines on the map are silly. Where you live, the awful machinery is smaller, harder to see, less honest, that's all. Whereas Rupert here, he's honest as they come. What does it say on the box? She scratched the hulking shell behind what might have been an ear, and remained still dark. And that's why. Then why tell me is it all puppets and engines? Why don't you want me to let you peer? Why don't you want me to let you peer at me? Says September. Betsy beckoned her closer until they stood nose to nose. All September could smell was vanilla and rum and maple syrup cigar, which was all throughout the gnome skin too. Because humans come to fairyland, we're supposed to trick them and steal from them and wrap them around the ear and wrap them around the ears, but we're also supposed to hex them up so that they can see all proper like. Not everything, just enough to be dazzled by the mushroom's glamour, and not so much that we can't fool you twice with fairy gold. It's real science. My pinky is going to explode. Used to be done with ointment. It's in the rule book. Are you gonna put something very foul in my eyes then? I told you, kid. Gnomes are modern now. I have personally picketed Hollow Mesh Pharmacy. There are other ways of opening that thick head of yours. Like Rupert. He's great with thick heads. Most people I show them Rupert, they say anything I tell them to. Now, papers, please. Greenwind looked sidelong at September, and then at his feet. September could swear he was blushing green through his beard. You know very well, Betsy, that the ravished need no papers. It's in the manual. Page 764, paragraph 6. Greenwind coughed politely. The Persephone clause. Betsy gave him a long look that plainly said, so what's afoot in your old bag of air? She blew her sweet, thick smoke in his face and grunted. September knew she could not have been the only one. Don't answer for you, though, tall thing. All right, she can go, but you stay. Betsy chewed her cigar. And the cat, too. I'm not violating the green list for the likes of you. The Greenwind stroked September's hair with his long fingers. Time for us to part, my acorn love. I'm sure my visa will come through soon. Maybe if you put in a good word with me with the embassy. In the meantime, remember the rules. No swimming for an hour after eating, and tell no one your true name. My true name? I came for you, September. Just you. I wish you the best that can be hoped for, and no worse than expected. He leaned in and kissed her cheek, courtly, gently, dry, desert wind. The leopard licked her hand compassionately. Not her cheek. That would be an awkward thing. Close your eyes, he whispered. And September did. She felt the warm, sunny wind on her face. All the smells of green things, mint, grass, rosemary, fresh water, frogs, leaves, hay. It blew her dark hair back, and when she opened her eyes, Greenwind and the leopard of low breezes were gone, and in her ear floated an his last airy sigh. Check your pockets, my chimney child. Betsy waved her hands in the air as if to disperse an unpleasant perfume. He's such a lot of bother. You're better off. Theatrical folk are nothing but a bungle of I don't know what this word is, but it starts with mono. And anxiety headaches. The gnome pulled a little green leather book and polished ruby handle stamp before from behind the podium. She opened the book and began to stamp with vicious delight. Temporary visa type pomegranate. Housing allotment none. Alien registry category human. Ravished non-changeling. Size medium. Age 12. Privileges none or as many as you can catch. Anything to declare? September shook her head, and Betsy rolled her red-rimmed eyes. Customs declaration: one shoe black, one dress orange, one smoking jacket not yours? The gnome peered down at the podium. And one kiss extremely green. She finished empath. It's not empathetically. I'm guessing empathically, like, ugh. Stamping the book hard and handing it down to September. Off you go now. Don't hold up the line. Betsy Basilstock grasped September by her lapels and hauled her off to her feet. Her feet passed the podium toward the rooty, moldy, wormy hole in the back wall of the closet between worlds. At the last moment she stopped, spat out a fairy curse like wad of tobacco, and pulled a little black box out of her pocket. Slid a red rod out of it, and lips snapped open. It was filled with a vaguely gold jelly. Pants hangover, kid. Betsy cursed again. Old habits die hard. She dug her greasy finger into it and flung it into September's eyes, and it dripped down her face like yolk. The gnome looked profoundly embarrassed. Well, she looked at her toes. What if Rupert fell down on the job and you got there, and all you could see were sticks and grasshoppers and a long empty desert? A long way to go for a desert. Anyway, I have to explain myself. Off you go then. Betsy Basilstock gave the girl a long, hard shove into a soft, leafy wall in the closet. With a wiggle, a squeeze, and a pop, September slid backward through to the other side. And that is all for today. Sorry it's a little bit messier than the last one, but it's a little bit more honest, I think. Alright. Bye!